take their money and run like a Butterbar lieutenant lost on a land nav course. Are you finally ready to plant your flag and claim your territory? Maybe it's time to use that VA loan to buy a home. Or hell, maybe you're looking to refinance and put some extra cash in your pocket for more questionable life decisions. Either way, the Veterans Mortgage Source, powered by Canopy Mortgage, has your six. Look, buying a home or refinancing can feel like getting overrun on a bad op. Chaotic, confusing, and full of obstacles that make no damn sense. That's where Corey and his team come in. They're like the QRF of home loans, ready to pull you out of the chaos and guide you to the best program for you. And trust me, they'll answer all your questions. Yeah, even the dumb ones. Whether you're a salty vet or fresh out of barracks still trying to figure out where your TA-50 went. Great service, solid rates, and a team that actually understands the military life. That's why all of us here at Veteran Trash Talk trust them to do right by every veteran in their family. Ready to lock it in? Give Corey a call or shoot him a text at 808-699-7874. That's 808-699-7874. Don't wait. Unless you like overpaying and getting treated like an FNG. The Veterans Mortgage Source is powered by Canopy Mortgage, LLC. All loans are subject to credit and property approval.
Hey, what's up, Mental Health Nation? How's everybody doing today? Yeah, caught me cleaning my glasses right at the beginning of the show, but that's good. Hey, listen, we got a good show going on tonight. We got a lot of emotional things to talk about. Like I said, if you saw the promo, I'm going to go and talk about the Epstein files that just dropped. I just thought it was very important. It's been weighing on my mind, and I just think that it's important for us to talk about it. Hey, Brian, how you doing today? Thanks for tuning in. We did start a little bit tonight. Chris is out in Vegas. He's in a pool tournament, so best of luck to him. Hope he does quite well. He's got another match coming up at 5 p.m. their time. Hats off to him, and hope he does great out there. But, hey, before we start the show, we'll go ahead and move our way around the horn like we always do. My glasses broke right before the show, so I had to go grab a backup pair, and these aren't quite the right kind. But you know what? I'll make you do with the way it is. Hey, gotta roll with the punches. But Reads Across America, it's really great with what they do during the holiday season to ensure the Reads are placed, memorialize the veterans out there. And so you can scan that QR code, and for a little, $10-15, you can donate a wreath. It's really amazing what they do every year. And so, I'm great to be part of them and have been with them for 2 years now. I am still part of Arlington Cemetery. So, hey, scan that QR code, make a donation. But you can also donate and personalize one too. So, it's super easy to do. Just scan that QR code, go to the website, and follow the directions. You'll be able to go from there. But if you don't know, and you should know by now, if you're a listener to the podcast, is that Reads Across America has a radio show. Yes, they do. And so Reads Across America replays my podcast on Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. Super easy to find. You just download the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, or the Odyssey app to catch the replay of the Mental Health Warrior and all the other great programming they have on. They have great programming out there. Lots of good shows, lots of good music they play. But, even if you don't listen to the Mental Health Warrior, log on, give them a look-see. They really do have a great program they set up there with Reads Across America Radio. So give them a look-see. I talked about a lot. You got 10th Mountain Bourbon Whiskey out there. They're great whiskey. I haven't really drank in 6 days. But after tonight's show, I might have to have a drink. I just go through phases where I just don't drink. I don't know why. It's just something I do. But hey, their bourbon out there, their cordial is absolutely amazing. Something going on celebrate something, anything going on, but just give them a look. See, it's really great what they do. They've been a long-term sponsors of Veteran Trash Talk. But I will tell you that the Italians out here absolutely love their bourbon. And the cordial. They love the cordial. It's pretty amazing. If you watch the video before the show, you got Veterans Mortgage powered by Canopy Mortgage. Interest rates are going to come down, and they already have come down. And so maybe you want to use your VA loan, or maybe you want to refinance, or maybe you just have questions about your current loan. You scan that QR code, and they'd be more than happy to answer any of the questions that you may have. Moving forward, maybe you want to do some remodeling. Maybe you want to, build a shed. Maybe you want to buy a Mustang, huh? Like I got, maybe. And I think I'm going to go ahead and have my Mustang ship out here to Italy. It's been at my buddy's house there at Tom's for a couple of years. But I'm really thinking about going ahead and having it shipped out here because it'd be a lot of fun to have it out here. But hey, listen, if you're still in the service and you can be in PCS out to Hawaii, PCS Paradise, be more than happy to help you scan that QR code, and they will help you find your dream home while you're stationed out there for 2 or 3 years in Hawaii. And I know they do a good job because they did help a couple of my friends out here in Italy when they were going to Hawaii. Found them amazing places to stay. So, hey, you know what? The sponsor is the reason we're able to do what we're doing, and it's able to allows us to continue our mission. Obviously, with the veteran suicide and the soldier suicide is something that we want to, continue to fight every single day because, as a survivor myself, I know what those roads looks like. And, one of the reasons why I decided to do tonight's topic show, it's not going to be political. It's not going to do anything like that because what the Epstein files dropping, and I don't know how much of my viewers out there have looked at it, read it, seen the videos, saw it. It's not a political issue. It's a human issue. It's a human being issue. It goes to the core of our being and living on this earth the short time that we're here. And I really has affected me mentally. Some of the things that I've read and seen, and you can go out there and read and see those yourself. It's absolutely disgusting. It's absolutely heart-wrenching that somebody would have the capability to do the things that they have done in the last years. It's also sad that our government, no matter what side of the party you're on, has allowed this to occur. I don't give a rat's butt what intelligence you can do or what leverage you have on somebody. When it gets to that point, or when you're over that point of decency of human beings, it doesn't matter. And I worked in the intelligence agency for a lot of years in that field. So, I get it. But, as we go through, the files, and more gets released all the time, it is going to have a mental health effect on you. And there's many reasons that can happen, even if you're not a direct victim, even if you're not, have anything to do with it other than reading and looking at the files and going over, watching the videos. And I can't watch the videos. I watched a couple, and it almost made me throw up in my mouth. The stuff that was going on and what, it's sickening. It absolutely is absolutely disgusting and sickening. And it's something that us who live in America should not tolerate. But it shouldn't be tolerated anywhere in the world, not just here, but anywhere, with what was going on and what's been going on for way too many years. This isn't just news that's going. It's a collective trigger. We're exposing powerful, protected predators, but because they were high powered and protected, it erodes our humanity and erodes our institutions. And it's something that we can't tolerate. It's something that we as a human being and we as people who live and walk on this earth are going to have to decide that we need to make sure that everybody who was part of the Epstein files, and I don't care if you're the president of the United States down to the lowest level of the government, if you are a part of it, it doesn't matter to me. If you had anything to do with it at all, with what went on with these children, what went on with these people being trafficked, you need to be held accountable. Just like I'm held accountable. If I break the law, I'm held accountable. If I do something illegal, I'm held accountable. If you do something illegal, you're held accountable. Are you not? Yes, we are. And, and so these people need to be held accountable, because it's as you dive into the public's mental health impact of the Epstein files, right? Just as it has affected my life, I know there's millions of people all across the United States that it has absolutely affected their lives. And as you dive deeper into it, the revelations are affecting everyday people. I mean, I see everyday people on across my social media who never really voiced an opinion about anything. I don't really voice opinion about anything, and I don't really voice opinions on anything at all because I'm an independent. Always have been an independent. So I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. Never have been. But what's going on now, what I'm talking now, it has nothing to do with whatever side of the aisle. This is a basic, decent human being saying that these people, for what they've done, no matter where you are in class and society, need to be held accountable. And I will tell you right now that even though you had nothing to do with it, but just the mere fact of watching the videos, reading the emails, that can lead to what experts call a secondary trauma, right? Or a vicarious trauma. And I know that because it's affected me. And these are what we call without being a direct victim. We saw this with 9/11, right? So of course, you guys know my story about 9/11. At the Pentagon, I spent many hours looking for victims. But I had friends of mine who were not part of the direct part of being at the Pentagon or something. They were back blocks away, but just the fact that it happened had a traumatic effect on them, and as much as a traumatic effect as it did on me. Um, uh, I to answer your question, John, I'll answer it here in a second. And so it's very important as if you're going through these files to please keep that in mind, because I know that psychologically it can have effect on you, especially if you're already dealing with PTSD, if you're already dealing with other things, or if you're a victim of a similar crime. That as you go through these files and see these things and see things that are reported, just know that you're gonna have symptoms can come up, and just we talk about it a lot here on Mental Health Warrior with dealing with PTSD and how to deal with symptoms. But you get anxiety, you'll have insomnia, you have nightmares, maybe intrusive thoughts. You get emotional numbness, maybe a little bit of dissociation. Um, and just know that that's a possibility as you read these things or hear these things or as more things come out. um, it's very important to keep that in mind, and it's very important that if you start being bothered by these things, like I have, that you go and talk to your buddy, practice good self-help, good self-care, do all those things you need to do in order to keep your mental health strong and keep your focus where it needs to be. And you know what? If it becomes too much, it's okay to step back for a little bit. I'll talk about it later on in the show. But there's different things that you can do, um, you know, to help deal with that, but also be involved with however this process is going to play out. But yeah, John, I think the problem when you talk about the psyops, it's very interesting, and for a couple of reasons. One, they want to distract from something else. We know this; they've done this many, many times. I think when the Attorney General was speaking in front of Congress the other day, and she says, "Well, the Dow hit 50,000. We don't need to worry about that." The Epstein files. The Epstein files aren't going away. Millions and millions of people are not going to allow it to go away, and they're not going to allow you to do the bait and switch. Both parties have done it. They will try to downgrade it. They will try to make it, to distract you from other things going on, and hopefully that you'll forget about it. But the sheer impact and the sheer things that these very sick individuals did to very, very small children can never be forgiven and never be forgotten. And I think they're in their hopes that if they'll release the Epstein files, they'll distract people, and then they'll go off about doing all these other little things. We're not going to forget about it. Any decent human being that walks this earth will never, ever let this go until these people, Epstein's dead, until the other people are held accountable, because the victims need it. We need it as a society, that we need to say this is not going to go on. And I think when they try to go out and play these psyopses and do these different things, we're a lot smarter than what we were 5 years ago, right? The American people are more educated now and get the better news sources, or very have woken up about what's going on with the government, with the officials in the government, and what they try to do to distract us from the problems why they're doing this over here. It's not just the Epstein files. There we were getting inundated with the Minnesota fraud. Now we got the California fraud going on. We have the Venezuela with the leader being taken. We got the smart tech. We got the voting machines. We have all these things happening at once. And, people say, oh, well, they leased the Epstein files, so we forget about the Minnesota, or they forget about this. I don't think that's true. There is so many things going on in this country that went on for 50 years that the American people were oblivious to. Partly probably because we didn't ask the right questions, but also too, they was done in the backroom corners. I spent a long time in DC. I know how DC works. That, they can't do that anymore, because, when Elon came in, when he bought Twitter, now X, and then he opened up the doors where you can't always have one news source controlling the narrative. Then the people get the information. Now we, the citizens, become the news source. Pros and cons to that. Not going to get into that tonight. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's very important that when you see the Epstein file dumps, when you see the stuff about the Minnesota fraud, which absolutely is just, I mean, I don't even know why we pay taxes anymore. Really, if we have $1 trillion plus in fraud, why are we paying taxes? I just don't, it just blows my mind, because apparently they have way too much money to do all that with. That's a topic for another subject. I'm not saying don't pay your taxes. I'm just saying, if there's that much fraud going on, what is the oversight? If I lived that way, or if I did my military career that way as a contracting officer, I would be in prison, for the amount of fraud that went on, and things. But don't get distracted from the points. Stay focused. Keep, on what's going on. But as you go through these files and you're reading them, just know that it is probably going to impact you. I don't, I never condone violence. I never condone anything like that. But it's very important to keep your emotions in check. It's very important to make sure that you're staying mentally healthy, because they're horrible. I don't know if my listeners out there have how much they've done into it, but what I have saw, you know, it's not good at all. So you say hyper vigilant. Keep a sense of instability out there. Things are going to go wonky as you go. It's going to drive up. It's going to bring emotions. You see that already with people, and it's nice to see that people higher ups are saying, "No, we're not going to let this go. No, you're not going to shed this underneath the rug. We demand that people are held accountable for what they do, but also be careful out there for misinformation, as we all know." Don't just take one source as somebody who is trained in open source intelligence. You never look at one sources, look at multiple sources. It's different with the Epstein files, but I'm just saying that if you're reading something that doesn't seem quite right, or something a little bit off on it, do the due diligence and go out there and look at other ways, look at other sources, whether you're right wing, left wing, it doesn't matter. Do your homework, and make sure that, but the conclusion you're coming to, because we're all going to come to different conclusions, that you had the best information available, and that you can, formulate your decision by then. But as somebody who has served a long time in the service, who has been all around the world, um, you know, it's really, really heartbreaking to see what has been allowed to happen with these Epstein files. It's heartbreaking to see how many administrations going back, roughly what Bush one, that they knew about this guy. It's heartbreaking to see that, President Trump was actually, did the FBI files. They turned this guy in, and nobody did anything. And you have to ask why. Why? You can say he worked for the CIA, say he did all this stuff. Why? To blackmail people? So you're going to allow these absolutely horrible, disgusting, disgusting things to be done to children for intelligence? That's complete BS. That there is no excuse that how could a society allow these things to continue? And I think that's why, and kudos to the American people and people all around the world, more so the American people who demanded this to be released, and kept pushing it to release him, to release him, to release it. Well, we wouldn't have found out about it. I think they just would have, hey, let's quit talking about it. Let's shove it underneath the rug because it's painful. And it's painful because it deals with the most powerful people we have in the world. But that doesn't give an excuse. It does not give an excuse no matter how much money you have to act this way towards another human being. And the things they did to these poor children, it absolutely breaks my heart as a father, who has children myself, who has nieces and nephews, and children are the most blessed thing you could ever have in this world. But these things cannot be left undone. These things cannot be left unpunished. And I think it's so very important, to keep that in mind. And the poor victims, these victims need justice. You've seen stories and reports come out over the years that the victims come out and talk about it. But the victims need to have justice, whether they're still alive or they're not. They need to have their justice. I don't know why we're not down there. I don't know why the FBI ain't all over that island, crawling all over it, digging up the grounds down there. I don't know why they're not doing any of that, but they should be doing all of that because we need answers, and we're not going to let this go until we get them, because it's absolutely ridiculous. Also, as you go through these files and as you look at some of them, just keep in mind that, that's why I go back to open source or about intelligence, with AI is getting crazy out there. And so be careful when you look at videos and things that make sure that they are the videos that were released. Because AI, you guys know, AI can be really crazy nowadays. They can remake things, it can add things in. So just like I said, do your due diligence and look at it. But it's gonna be tough, and so if you have family, friends, that are doing the same thing I did, people looking at it out of curiosity, it's gonna affect them, and it's gonna create conversations amongst your friends groups and everybody. Um, But one thing we can't do during this time, as more things are getting exposed, is lose not only our faith in humanity, but our faith in our brothers and sisters who's next to us. Because if they've dealt with this type of trauma, um, it's going to have a profound effect on them because they're going to start reliving it. And you may or may not know that. So I'm going to say this right now: that if you have a friend or a buddy that their behavior has changed since the Epstein files released, please go out and spend that extra time with them, talk to them, find out, discuss it. Sometimes the best thing to do is just to look at it. Hey, Sally, thanks for tuning in. Um, you know, but it can be very triggering, very, very, PTSD and stuff, that it can be horrible, and just I can't imagine the horrors that these children, and I have a son that's 11 years old, suffered at these animals, and what they were doing. It sickens my stomach. It makes me very upset. Um, and so I just wanted to, highlight those things. I have my notes here because when I get emotional, I lose my train of thought, and it goes back to my TBI. Um, as you guys go, you know, as you go into the Epstein files, whatever reaction you have to them, it's absolutely valid. Absolutely. I mean, I went through them and I was angry. I was disgusted. I was crying. I was upset. I mean, some of this crap I saw brought me to tears. And I just could not believe. And so, like I talked about earlier, it's the secondary trauma that you're feeling. It's going to resurface memories, anger, just injustice of what's going on. I mean, I'm upset by it. I'm trying not to yell because my family's sleeping right now. So, 10:30 at night, we start a little bit early. But just know that whatever you're feeling, And, like for me, I'm very angry with the fact is how is this still happening? Because guess what? There's things that on that file that are still happening now. Why are these people not being brought to justice now? Why are they still allowing these things to happen to these children? It blows my mind. I cannot wrap my head around it. Just know that your reactions to this are absolutely valid, and that you need to understand that it's normal to feel that way. It's normal for me to feel that way. This stuff hits because the evil. It breaks my sense of safety in the world. It's you're gonna just so many raw emotions gonna come up, and I know they've been out for a little while, and it just took me a while to really get my head wrapped around what I wanted to talk about with it today. Because I didn't want to make it political, because it's not a political issue at all. It's a human being issue. It's a human dignity issue that we as a society have to decide, or we cannot allow this to go on in any way, shape, or form. And that we need as a society, we need to change and do something so this never happens again. And we need to make sure that those who are in the Epstein files are held accountable. They have to be held accountable. And it doesn't matter to me, and I said this early on, whether you're a billionaire or trillionaire, whoever you are, or I don't care if Rothschild, I really don't care who you are. I'm past that point. When I watched that first video, when I learned about the things they were doing to babies and baby farms and making jerky and doing these things, it is horrible. Once you get to that point and say it doesn't matter what the hell your last name is at all. It does not matter to me one single bit. You need to be held accountable for your actions because you chose to do these sick, disgusting, and horrible things, and you need to be held accountable. And we need to make sure that we keep our public officials, feet on the fire, if you will, to make sure that they go after these people and that they try to, we need to get these convictions. These people have to be brought to justice. They have to be trials. We just have to. It has to be done because we just cannot be tolerated. We just cannot tolerate this uh, you know, as a society. We can't do it. There's so many systemic failures of allowing this to go on. Um, that to me still boggles my mind. Why would any law enforcement agency look at what was going on and say, "Oh, well, I'm just going to look the other way"? Yeah, I can hear the screaming kids. Yeah, no, I'm just going to look the other way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It doesn't affect my life, so I'm just going to go look over here. Yeah, no, you can't do that. And I just to me, it boils my blood to think that they didn't do anything to stop this and stop this monster. Um, and it should have been. It should just as never should have gone on for so many years. And like I said early on, it doesn't matter to me if you're using them for blackmail or using them for whatever else. Um, so if you're going out there and you're digging through these files like I have been doing, just you're gonna get mad, you're gonna get angry, you're gonna get sad, and you're probably gonna drink a hell of a lot. Now, since I spent the last 6 days digging into this, uh, I have not been drinking because I'm just afraid it would have taken me down a rabbit hole. So I just chose not to. But what we need to do is get through all those emotions. And then what we need to as a society, turn our outrage into small actions. We need to, you know, we need to try as a society, we need to try to help these victims of what they have, of what they went through. We need to have, you know, help our organizations, our veterans organizations, because people are going to be triggered. People are going to be upset by this. We need to advocate, just like I'm doing tonight on my Mental Health Warrior podcast, is advocate for accountability. These people have to be held accountable for what they done. And so the more we talk about it and the more that we don't allow it to go silent, uh, we have to let everybody know till they get it, till they truly understand that we as a society is not going to let this go at all. And we can't let it go. Every one of these sick MFers need to be held accountable for what they did. And any of you who's listening out there who went through the files like I have, I'm sure you feel exactly, um, you know, the same way I did, right? And um, Jeff, I agree with you 1,000%. Absolutely. I do not care what political affiliation you are. A monster is a monster, right? And we have to deal with monsters the way we deal with monsters. And it's horrible. But sorry if I'm bouncing around a little bit, but it's a hard topic to talk about. And there's so many things that I want to talk about, but I'm not going to talk about. Uh, you can go out and read it. You can go out and watch the videos. You can go out and see the things that I saw the last several days, and you can come to your own conclusion of what I am. That uh, this cannot we cannot allow this to to continue. Um, and we have to make sure that there is going to be accountability. Um, so we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to stick together as a community. We're going to have to stick together as society, and we're going to have to make them accountable. And we just cannot let them sweep it underneath the rug because they're going to try it, but we can't allow it because the problem is, and the sad thing is it's still occurring, and there's still people out there being victimized by them. These very sick, disgusting human beings. And just because you have a certain last name doesn't preclude you from that being that sick, disgusting human being if you have participated in that. And what's sad is when you see other countries who are already going after the people on Epstein list and taking action against them, and then you look at the United States and says, "Why aren't we doing it? Why are we not? Why is I think it's Sweden and Turkey's looking into the amount of missing babies that were going on there. Why are they looking into it, and why are they trying doing something where we're not? Why is that? Maybe we are in the background and they're not saying anything for other reasons. Actions speak louder than words. I'm tired of talk. I'm tired of people running their mouth and not doing anything. I'm tired of, them putting together, oh, well, we're going to do a study or we're going to look at this or we're going to do a special investigation. No, we're past all that. That we have the evidence. The files are out there. We have the evidence. I want to see trials. I'm to the point now. I don't care anymore. Yeah, you can release all the files. That's fine. Release them all. At this point, uh, you don't hide anything. I think there's another 3 more million files that got released. But my point is, I'm past the release. I'm ready to see trials. These people need to be arrested. The FBI should be raiding them. They should be going in and taking after all those things. They need to start arresting these people. Period. And I think, I think enough Americans have seen this now that they're just upset about it. Um, Yeah, you're true, Jeff, with what your statement is. We're all going to have to take a bite out of it. I mean, it's going to be ugly, but I think we have to, as a society, we have to stand up and say, yeah, we know it is, but we're going to have to take. It's going to have to be fixed. They're going to have to start trials. They have to start arresting people. We're going to have to start doing things to correct this, and we can't stay silent any longer. I mean, how many years did we stay silent and didn't say anything? With whatever. I mean, the reason that we're in the mess we are, not just the Epstein files, the debt, and all this other stuff, is because for a lot of Americans, and I'm talking the ones in the center of the country, because I'm from the center of the country, even though I've been in Virginia for many years, I grew up in Missouri, is we didn't care about politics. We didn't get involved with it. So we just say, hey, if it doesn't bother me, then I'm not gonna worry about voting. I'm not gonna go worry about this. That's why Virginia's in the mess they're in right now, with the last election, because we don't want to be bothered with it, you know. But then when things go to crap, then you have to be bothered with it. We can't be quiet no longer. We, the people, can no longer sit in our little homes and our little jobs and live in a little bubble. We can no longer do that, you know. And we're going to have to keep pushing for these people to be held accountable. Because, with politicians, right, they're like used car salesmen, right? You put enough pressure on them, they're going to get paranoid about not getting reelected, and they're going to start doing something. And, that's we see all that already, right? With the release of the files. Because if we're going to release any more, And then we, the people, said, "Oh, no, 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 no! You're gonna keep releasing the files." They felt the pressure and released the files, and so we still got to stay on him. And they're trying to hide it. I mean, look at the major news reports and see how much they're not reporting on things. So we need to stick together as a people. We're all warriors out there. We're mental health warriors. That's why you listen to this program. We need to, have honest conversations like I'm having tonight. We need to, we're not alone in this darkness. We're all warriors. We're in this together. We have to fight for this. Yeah, I just think about when the videos with the babies and it just fucking I'm getting mad at shit right now. Uh, you know, it's ridiculous. That's all I'm going to say, and we need to do something about it. But hey, listen, I'm going to wrap this up here in about 5 minutes. But there's some other things I want to say that as I close out, I want to thank you for listening. I want you to, as you go out and look at the files, get mad, get angry, but turn that anger inward and turn it into action. We need to keep pressure on our elected officials that they make these people held accountable. I don't care who they are. And if there's somebody out there who's on this list and they own a company, quit going to their company. Quit buying their crap. Right? We saw that with Bud Light. We saw that with other organizations. If they're associated with the Epstein files, I don't want any of their stuff. I'm not going to buy any of it. I don't care who it is. I'll make the crap myself before I go and buy it and support somebody who's doing that to kids. Absolutely. That's one thing we can start doing, And so, and so you can go out and look at the person who, if they own any type of a social media company, if they own any type of a product or anything, that's the easy thing we can do. We can start boycotting them and we can bankrupt them. Because guess what? You bankrupt them, then they can't keep the politicians in the pocket to try to keep them out of jail. That's something easy we can do. Because this list is far and wide. We can stop listening to the music if they're in the music industry, or we can stop going to the movies. Or if anybody's associated with anything out there, we just stop going to it. Start spending your money on them. Yeah. So what if it makes your life a little bit harder? So what if it makes your life a little bit inconvenience? What about that little baby? Or what about those kids they were yanking the teeth out of so they couldn't bite somebody while they were doing shit to them? Who's there fighting for them? This rabbit hole is deep, dark, and disgusting. But we cannot, as a people, allow this to continue to go on. I mean, it's you know what? I will be more than happy if you guys want me to talk about this more. I can bring up and have it on again. We can talk about it. But, I hope that this episode stirred something inside of you. If it did, I appreciate all comments out there. Drop some comments. We can't allow this to continue as a society. But if it has affected you like it has affected me, yeah, you're right, Brian. Let's bankrupt them all. Let's bankrupt them. Reach out to a trusted friend, talk to your therapist, call a hotline. If the heaviness weighs on you, you can always dial 988. Veterans Trash Talk Facebook page is always there. They always have great discussions out there. Just remember that as you go through these files and maybe going through healing and dealing with stuff yourself, healing isn't linear. It can be all over the place. So every time that you're faced with hard stuff, to keep going on, keep being stronger, keep being a warrior. Yeah, that's why I'm talking about this. This. I've been wanting to do this show for since they dropped the files and I started going through them. But then I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to wait. I'm going to go through as much as I can stomach. And I thought I could stomach some crap, right? And even my brothers and sisters out there that's been to I'm an Iraqi war veteran. He's been to war, and you see that crap goes on. But when you see stuff happen to the most vulnerable of our society, and that's our children, the most precious commodity, I just lose it. I just lose it. And just to think that these kids never knew joy and happiness. These kids never knew anything that my 11-year-old knows or my 21-year-old. It's just what I grew up, it's just absolutely disgusting. And we as a society cannot let this go on. But hey, listen, I want to thank everybody out there for joining me tonight. You are seen, you are heard, and we're not fighting. When you're not, we're not fighting this alone. We have to be together on it. Listen, if you want to hear the replay, it drops on Reason Across America Radio. You can watch that. But you know what? Everybody out there, you're a warrior. Bless you all for listening to my show tonight. I hope you got something out of it. Please drop any comments in there. But hey, let's look out for our brothers and sisters out there. I'm going to go around the horn here in a second. But let's keep the pressure on. Let's don't let them get away with it. Let's keep talking about it. I use my platform to get the word out, but you don't have to have your own podcast. You got your own social media out there. You can tag people. One thing I was posting on X the other day, and I tagged President Trump on a post, and one of the ladies says, "Oh, this is a great thing. We should just be tagging him on everything." Yeah, you post something, and it has to deal with maybe a congressman or senator or somebody in your field. Tag him on it. This is inundating with tags. And if you're going through the Epstein files and you see something absolutely disgusting, you're going to reshare it. And tag them on it, because I guarantee you they probably ain't seen it. And they probably haven't looked at it, because they had. And the ones that had, and you know what I'm talking about, you've seen them out there. The ones that have seen it, they're looking, their face is different, just the same as mine is. And, just don't let them get away. Tag them on it. If you don't know how to tag, you just put @ symbol and then their username. If you don't know how to tag somebody, or ask somebody and learn how to do it. But hey, listen, I want to thank everybody for joining tonight. Just like I said, either you can scan that QR code for Reason Across America. For a little, $10, $15, you can donate to Wreath, to ensure that the veterans out there are memorialized during the holiday season. It's truly amazing what they've done, and they've done it for years and years and years. Very professional organization, but along with it, Reason Across America Radio, like I talked about, they replay my podcast at Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. Super easy to find. Just download the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, and the Odyssey app, and search for Reason Across America Radio for not only this great program, but all the great programming they have. I talked about 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit. I'm probably going to have a little whiskey tonight, and I think I deserved it. So I'm going to reward myself with a little drink tonight before I go to bed. But give him a look-see. Chris, can you throw if you're listening, I don't know if you can, but we'll throw the website up there. There you go. Thank you. And the code VTT to save you some money. I got your drink water. And then you got Veterans Mortgage, powered by Canopy Mortgage. You can scan that QR code. If you got any question about your mortgage, it's a hassle. But if you're a veteran out there and you're not using your benefits, shame on you. You should be using your benefits. And if you have never used your VA loan, you should use your VA loan. But Veterans Mortgage, powered by Canopy Mortgage, be more than happy to help you with any questions you have. And maybe you just have simple questions. But hey, give them a chance. Scan that QR code. And if you're still active duty service member and you're getting PCS to Hawaii, give PCS Paradise, scan that QR code. They'll be more than happy to help you out. But hey, listen, I know I talked about stuff really heavy tonight. I'm bothered by it. I'm probably going to go run. I know I'm going to go run tonight. And just kind of sort through everything in my mind. But hey, listen, take care of yourself. Let's take care of each other. Let's stand firm. Let's not allow them to get away with this. And the only way we can do that is not by going silent. We have to speak up, and we have to speak out. I don't condone violence. I'm not condoning that at all. But these people need to be held accountable for what they did. But hey, thanks for tuning in. Next week's show, because Chris is in that pool tournament. Good luck to Chris out there. We may switch days on it, but I'll let you know. So it may not be on Wednesday next week. I'm also going to be out of town. I got to do some business stuff down in Bari, Monopoly region on the other side of Italy. So we may have it on Thursday next week. We may have it on Monday. We haven't decided, but we'll figure that out. But hey, you guys have a great week. Please take care of each other. Like I always say, we are our brothers and sisters keeper out there. And let's just look out for one another. You guys take care. And thanks for all the comments. And we'll see you guys sometime next week.